Boker Tov. Today's daf is daf Ayin Hein Baba Kam again, as we learned for Achenu basis for Hamasun Batzar Shiur. We're at the 10th line down on Ayin Hey Amud Aleph. 10th line down. What did the Mishnah say? That if you stole with two item said that you thieved, that you burgled something, of course you have to pay kefil. But if when you sold it, when you sold the animal, we're talking about a shor seh, of course, if you sold it or you slaughtered it, and that was only because your own admission or 1A, then you only pay the kefil. You don't pay the dalvei. Dalvei is only, as a kefil is only if it's through Adam. So then the Gemara tried to say, yes, mashma, that if Adam came afterwards, the Gemara said, well, the chiddush is just like if if another aid comes the next day, you'd be found guilty and you'd have to pay the dalvei. The same thing would it be that if you admitted it on your own and then Adam came, which indicates, not like Rav Huna Marav, indicates that moda b'knas b'achkach bo Adam would be chayev, not like Rav Huna Marav. That's what the Gemara wanted to say. But today we'll see in today's Gemara that it's not necessarily a proof from our Mishnah against Rav Huna Marav. And Rav Huna Marav, because we said the psak is like that. Moda b'knas b'achkach bo Adam is potter. That's Rav's shita. So that's going to be the topic of today's daf. Itmar. At the 10th line on Ayin Hey. Itmar moda b'knas b'achkach bo Adam. Rav Amar potter Shmuel Mechayev. Rav says moda b'knas b'achkach bo Adam, meaning the Torah is a special law. We learn out from Sukkim, as we'll see, Asher Yashiyun, or from the pasuk of Himatzi Timatzei, that if you're moda on your own to the knas, we said yesterday in the case of rape, 50 shekels, in the case that Rav Gamliel he freed his slave by knocking out his eye by mistake, and you're moda to that. The special law, if you're moda, you don't have to pay. And the slave wouldn't go out free under those circumstances. That was the shakmatai that he had with Rabbi Yoshua in yesterday's daf. So here the question is, okay, you're moda b'knas, and Adam come afterwards. Adam or mechayiv you kefil, or whatever the knas is, kefil, dal, behei, raping, motzi shemra, whatever the knas is, Adam or mechayiv you. If you're moda, you don't have to pay. What happens if you're moda and then Adam come afterwards? So that was the discussion. Rav says moda b'knas, Rav says you're potter. Shmuel says you're chayiv. Shmuel says you're only chayiv, you're only potter if there's no Adam. But if Adam come even subsequent to your testifying, and we said, what does testifying mean? Testifying in Bezdin, because if you're moda outside of Bezdin, that doesn't do anything. Even though we paskin like Rav Huna Marav that moda b'knas is potter, but it's only moda b'knas in court. Otherwise, it doesn't work. We saw two different cases where one case, one version of the dialogue with Leah and Yeshua was Rabbi Yeshua told them, well, there's no Adam over here. Mashma, if there would be Adam, you would be chayiv even though you're a moda. But that's because he wasn't moda in court. But if he was moda in court already, then Adam wouldn't help at all. So here, Rav says moda b'knas b'achkach is potter. Shmuel says chayiv. What's the machlokas here? Right? Shmuel mechayiv. Amar Rav Avroloi. My time. What's Rav's reasoning? If the ganaf will be found, if you're found out by Adam, then you'll be found in court, and you'll be found guilty in court. You have to pay kefil or whatever the knas is. If Adam come and say that they find you guilty, then you have to pay the knas. Otherwise, you don't. So the Gemara says, Lamali, why do you need a pasuk? We already know from a different pasuk, Asher Yeshua Elohim. Only if the court finds you guilty, not if you find yourself guilty. We got two psukim over here. We have Himatzi Timatzei, we have Shiur. So one pasuk alone would have told you that moda b'knas is potter. If you're moda on your own, you're not chayiv. You're only chayiv if it's Himatzi Timatzei or Sher Shiur. Why do you have two psukim to tell me one case moda b'knas and one case moda b'knas? In both cases, you're potter. Whether Adam come afterwards or whether there's no Adam, either way you're potter. That's Rav Shapiro. Shmuel says no. Only boy that pasuk of Himatzi Timatzei is miboyle leganav atzmo. Before we had the psukim, we're talking about towing tanis ganav. Right? One held that both psukim were talking about towing tanis ganav. If you were a shomer and you claimed that it was burgled from you, and then it was found out that you kept it yourself, you have to pick it up. How do we know the God of himself? That's Himatzi Timatzei. Like we had back on Samach Gimel, Samach Dalet, that drasha there. So we have this machlokas between Rav and Shmuel. Rav says moda b'knas b'achkach is potter. Shmuel says chayiv. Eisvei Rav Shmuel. So Rav asks Kashan Shmuel. Ra Adam Shem Misham Shem Bon. Let's say you're a ganaf. This person's a ganaf. Yankel the ganaf will call him. Yankel stole, he burglarized, and he'd have to pay kefil. But he saw that Edom were about to come and testify against him. He saw they were getting ready; they were preparing to come. So he said, "You know what? I'll be motive. If they get me, I'm going to pay kefil. I'll pay the principal, the Karen, plus I'll have to pay extra. So I'll tell you, I'll be motive my own." So Bamar Ganafti, he says, "Oh, I stole it. But I didn't slaughter it or sell it. All he has to pay is Karen. Now, even though there were Edom over there, so the Edom were about to come, and if he was moda right before the Edom, he's potter from paying the kefil. Moda b'knas b'achwa Edom is potter. It's a proof to Rav. On Malay, so Shmuel told him, the Edom never came and testified. They were about to testify, but once they saw that he admitted on his own, they didn't testify against him anymore. So there were no Edom. That's not a case of moda b'knas b'achwa Edom. There were no Edom there. I've omitted Tani Seifa. The Seifa over there says Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon disagrees. Omer Yavo Edom, let the Edom come and testify. He'll pay kefil. Mechlal, the Tanakama Savar, lo. It's mashma that the Tanakama held that even though the Edom, even though there are Edom there, they cannot testify. They're not going to find him guilty of kefil because he was moda already. So see, it is a case where the Edom could come or not come. It's not like the Edom just walked away. The Shiloh is, can Edom testify against him? Chaim Kefil. The Tanakama's mashma no, and Rabbi Shimon's mashma yes. Shmuel says, all right, you're right. The Tanakama does say there that the Edom can't affect anything because moda b'knas b'achwa Edom doesn't do anything like you, Rav. But Rabbi Elazar Shimon the Goikvasi, Rabbi Elazar Shimon holds like me. Rabbi Elazar Shimon says, let them come. You saw the Edom getting ready, so you went and you were moda on your own. Trying to figure, you'll only pay the Karen, you won't pay the kefil, right? Then Rabbi Elazar Shimon says, let them come and testify against me. You will pay the kefil. Another I'll go like Rabbi Shimon. I'll go like Rabbi Elazar Shimon. You're right. I say Modav Knas Shmuel says. Shmuel says the Modav Knas is chayiv. You tell me the Tanakama says it's potter because if you motor on your own, you only pay the Karen. That's what he says. Well, you only pay the Karen. You don't have to pay the Knas. Same Shalom Karen. That's the first Tanakama Shita. Rabbi Elazar Shimon disagrees, and I'll go like Rabbi Elazar Shimon. So effectively, we're saying here that the machlokas between Rav and Shmuel is the same as the machlokas between the Tanakama and Rabbi Elazar Shimon. That's what the Gemara is saying. Okay, so the Shmuel body tonight, according to Shmuel, it's body machlokas Torah because the second Tana goes like him. Let the Edom come and testify even after you're moda, whereas the first Tana says no, right? Like they'll go like Rav, but Rav Mila Mitzrayim will Rav also have to admit that the machlokas Tanam. In other words, usually you don't have a Maram arguing the same machlokas as a machlokas Tanam. So the Gemara is going to try to say now, well, Rav doesn't really hold it's a machlokas Tanam. Why? Because even though he says that the latter Edom can come and testify and make him chayiv, even though he was moda already, I could even come like the second time Rav Shimon. Over there, it's speaking of the cases where the Ganaf was moda because he was afraid. He saw that they were Edom about to testify against him, so he figured, oh, they're going to make me pay double. I stole $100. They're going to make me pay $200. I'll be moda on my own, so I'll only pay $100. There he says, El Mishum become moda my Visusa, the Edom, because he's afraid of the Edom. There, in a case like that, moda b'knas for Edom Yechayev. Avol Hocha the moda be'aspa, but in a regular case where he's just moda on his own, a nice guy, he did tshuva, he stole, and then he can figure I'll make it up, and he'll be moda on his own. I feel Rav Shimon moda. So therefore, it's not exactly machlokas. The machlokas Rav and Shmuel, but the moda b'knas for Edom is potter or chayev. It's not the same as machlokas there because Rav will say everybody else moda b'knas for Edom is potter. Over there, it's a different case. Over there, he saw the Edom about to testify against him, so he was moda. It was obvious that he was just moda because he was afraid of them. In a case like that, the Edom could be mechayev and kefel, even according to Rav. Okay, so this is where we're up to now. Amra Funa. We're about 2/3 of the way down on the page, and now we're going to come to a very big qualification of what Rav says. Again, Rav says moda b'knas. If you're moda b'knas, normally you're potter. Rav says moda b'knas for Edom is also potter. Okay. So Rav Amnuna comes along and says a chiddush like this. Amar Rav Amnuna, mistaver milsid Rav. When Rav says moda b'knas for Edom is potter, bomu ganafti ubo Edom shekanav potter. Why? Shrei chayiv asum keret. When you come and you say in your own, you're moda on your own. Okay, so you're I was guilty. I have to pay the Karen. So there, moda b'knas, you're potter. Even if Edom come afterwards and testify against you, you have two Edom against you, but you were moda on your own because when you were moda, you gave up something. You gave up the money that you stole, right? I stole $100, right? I'm a nice guy. I said, I'm doing tshuva. I'm moda b'knas. Okay, even if Adam come afterwards, but I did something. It cost me something to admit the truth, right? I had to give up what I stole. It cost something. Aval Omerlo Ganafti. Let's say he says, I didn't steal anything. Ubo Adam Shaganav. He wasn't motive to anything. Adam come and say that he stole, right? So what does he do? He's chayiv kefil now, right? Because he wasn't motive. But now he figures, wait a minute, they're going to get me on the sale also, right? When I fenced it, I sold it to somebody else. I have to pay the extra $3. I better be motive to that. Motive b'knasas potter. Was being moda anything here? Did it cost him anything to be moda? No. He has to pay kefil because the Adam got him on the kefil already. He has to pay the Karen of the kefil because the Adam got him already. Now when he says, okay, tavachti macharti, I admit that I sold it. Let's call it sold it or slaughtered it, whatever. Ubo Adam shetabachu machar. Now Adam came. He has to pay the $3. He has to pay the extra $3. Why? Shaharei potter as meklum. What did he potter himself? Well, what did he give up? But what did he lose or give up by being moted to the sale? Nothing. You see, when he comes forth and says, listen, I want to do tshuva, I stole something. Okay, I gave up, whatever the principle, whatever I stole, I want to give back. So we say, you know what? Okay, you're potter, even if Adam come afterwards. But if Adam were already machayiv you for the kefil, you're just moted now on the sale, right? So you shouldn't get, so if Adam come and gets you on the sale, the extra $3 for the case of the shore, you want to punch yourself. What did you give up by getting? You didn't give up anything. You weren't moted to anything. You just figured because they're going to get you. You didn't say I'm going to pay now because there's no principal anymore. The principal you paid for already. All you're saying is, if Adam come and get you, they're going to get you for an extra $3. Not only double, but quintuple. You're going to do it 5. You're going to have to pay 5 times. I'll be moda, so I don't have to pay anything. That's what. So he says, in a case like that, you still have to pay because you're being moda did not cost you anything, right? It's got to cost something. It didn't cost anything. So Rabbi says, well, kapachti l'sabei debei Rav. The sabei Rav is Rav Hamnuna. Rav Hamnuna was the author of this member that we just said, and the elders of Rav, the school of Rav, was really Rav Hamnuna, and I beat them in this argument. Why? Because if you look at the story of yesterday, what did Rav Gamliel say? Gamliel said he made Rabbi Shua say, guess what? My Talmud Chacham Tevi, my Eved is going out free because I knocked out his eye, right? So he answered him, no, there's no Adam to that, right? It's mashma. If there would be Adam, he would go out free. What do you mean there's no Adam? You didn't. What did you give up? In other words, what are you paying to by being moda? He's not paying anything. Now it's not exactly the same case because he's losing the Eved, right? He's losing the Eved. But he says, in a case like that, since Rabbi Shua didn't answer him, well, that's not really motive of mixas, that's not the motive of knas, because you're not giving. He was really happy about it. See, Rabbi Gamliel was happy that the Eved goes out, right? But it's not like he's paying him anything. So he said, Rabbi Gamliel poter asmu klum habe. He was potter himself. He didn't have to pay by being moda. See, it really is because by being moda, the Eved wouldn't go out, right? By being moda the knas, what's the knas that he loses the Eved? By being moda the knas, the Eved wouldn't go out. So it wouldn't cost him anything, right? By being moda, it wouldn't cost him anything. There is not costing him anything, right? It didn't cost him. He didn't have to pay anything. Just the opposite. By being moda, gets to keep everything. But Rav Chisda, Rav Huna, and Rav Chisda asked this as a kasha to Rav Huna, moda b'knas v'oidim. Why didn't he say over there? He said if Adam would have come, Rabbi Shua said it's mashma. He says there's no Adam over there. But if there would be Adam, right, the mashma, then he would be chayiv to let him go. But why didn't he give an answer? Loka Mashani late. He didn't answer him. Well, it's different over there because you're not giving up anything. By being moda, you're not giving up anything. It's not like you're returning. I stole some jewels. I'm being moded to the jewels, $100 or whatever, and I don't have to pay the kefil, but I was moded to the principal. Over here, by being moded, it's not costing him anything. He gets to keep the evet. So that's a kasha against Rav Meir. The Gemara doesn't really answer. Tosfos goes into a whole long gerichas here about the lashon of kapachti. What does that mean? Kapachti means you overpowered, or you buried, or you won in this case. But he doesn't really answer the issue of so that we go against Rav Huna. Still, Rav Huna's memory is pretty strong. He says this that Rav says moda b'knas v'oidim potter is only if being moda you gave up something. I gave up the principle. Cost me something, right? But if I didn't, cost me, or like in the case before, Rav said possibly where he saw the Edom about to testify against him, so he had nothing to lose anyway by being motive. They were going to get him anyway, nothing to lose. But if you don't have anything to lose, then it's not a hodah. So in the case where they got you on the theft, and the issue is only the sale, the extra fee that you're going to pay for the sale, by being motive to the sale, what did you give up? Nothing, because all you do. Let's say you just stole something and you returned it, but you said I also sold it in between, or I slaughtered it. I'm giving you back the slaughtered animal. So there's no Dalvahay is only if Edom come and get you on the theft that you have to pay double, and on top of that, there's Edom, the same Edom or other Edom gets you on the sale or the slaughter, but otherwise not. So over here, if they got you already on the theft and you try to be moda on the sale or the slaughter in order to avoid paying the extra 3, it didn't cost you anything to be moda. It doesn't cost you anything, so that's not a hodah. Same, Yochanan also says this halacha like Rav Hamnuna in Rav. Ganafti, listen to the case. Ganafti, I stole something. The boy in Shaganav, and the Edom came and said that he said Potter. Right? That's like what Rav says. That moda beknas, I'm moda that I burgled it, and then Edom came that I stole it. I don't have to pay kefil. I was already moda to the karen. Avalomar lo ganafti. But if he says I didn't steal, Ubo Edom Shaganav, the Edom was machayim. They're machayim for the kefil. And then he said, oh yeah, I also slaughtered or sold it. And Edom came and he did it. He's chayiv to pay the extra 3 because that is not a hodah. That's what Rav is saying. Rav Hamnuna and Rav Yochanan are both saying is that a hodah that potters you is only a hodah that costs you. I'm moted to something. I'm giving it back. I'm returning something. But if by being moted doesn't cost me anything, that's not a hodah. That doesn't get me off the hook. And if Edom subsequently do come and say, we saw you slaughter it or sell it, you would have to pay the extra 3. Amar Ravashi. Ravashi says like this, more proofs to this idea. Masisa Rabraisa Namideka. From our Mishnah and a Brisa, you can also prove like Rav Hamnuna and like Rav Yochanan, that motive of Edom is potter only if the hodah cost you something. Masisa, what's our Mishnah? The very Mishnah that we said yesterday, we learned the Mishnah seemed to indicate against Rav, because the Mishnah is mashma, that al piatzmo. Why did it say al piedem, al pied echad, al piatzmo, al pied echad? Of course, pshita. The chiddush is the Gemara said, oh, just like al pied echad. If another aid joins him the next day, like Rabbi Shua Paskins and Sanhedrin, that you can add the 2 Edom together when he's mowed on his own, and Edom come afterwards. Also, he's chayiv. Moda b'knas Edom is chayiv, not like Rav. That's what the Gemara wanted to say. But now we're going to show that that's not really a proof against Rav. Why? Masis in the time, what did our Mishnah say? Ganav al pishnaim. 2 people testified that you stole, and you'd have to pay kefil. But and you sold it or slaughtered it just with 1 aid, or you admit it yourself. If you pay kefil, because there's no Edom against you on the tvicha bechira. Lama li the tana ganav al pishnaim. Why do you have to say ganav pishnaim? Listen, why don't you just say, listen, if you want to tell me the halacha moed with knas potter, just say you stole it, you slaughtered it, you sold it al piyed echad al piyasmo, you only pay the karen. Just say if you stole it by yourself. Why do you have to say there were 2 people who saw you steal it, but the tvicha mechir was only 1 aid or yourself? Why did it tell you? Why did it just say anything with 1 aid? Moed with knas potter. And a lot of the chiddush is hakamash malan. They got about pishnayim b'tavach al piyed echad or al piyatzmo. But Karen, he wasn't machayiv himself on the Karen. So he's damrinan al piatzmo dumi al pied echad. Al piatzmo is like veid echad. Ma al pied echad ki asi aid mitzaref b'hadei. Which we said just what like the Gemara wanted to say yesterday. Just like if you have through 1 aid, if another aid comes and joins him machayiv al piatzmo nami ki also aidim machayiv. If he was moed on himself and aidim come afterwards, he's chayiv. But if he is mode himself, the chayiv atzmo v'keren lo amrin al piatzmo dumi al pi'echad. There we don't say that being mode himself is like pi'echad. Why? Because mode v'knas Edom is potter. That's his point. In other words, in our Mishnah, why does he give the case where 2 Edom said he's chayiv? Because 2 Edom says he's chayiv, and then he's chayiv to pay for the kefil, and he doesn't pay. For the dollar dehay. Why? Because there's no Edom against him. There's only himself. But we said if another aid would come, he would be chayiv. Why? Because he wasn't moted to anything on his own. Didn't cost him anything, right? If if two Edom say he's chayiv kefil, right? He's stolen. That he stole, he has to pay kefil. He didn't admit anything on his own. Now he admits that it was that he stole, that he sold it or slaughtered it. That didn't cost him anything to be. He didn't have to go up anything. He already paid the kefil. That's the point. Rashi, the bottom Rashi says, take a look at Rashi on Ayin Ham and Aleph, the bottom Rashi where the lines get wide. If you're just talking about because just either way, whether it's the kefil or the dalvei, you're modding yourself. You're going to say, go to the top of the I'll pay it echad, I'll be asked, you pay kem, that's it. Why didn't he tell you the boiler missed now? The whole point is he says if it's atzmo, whether he admitted himself or eidechad, to tell me they're the same. The hotter Adam, if Adam came afterwards, chayiv. We have a ton of dog if he would say he was murder Geneva, Sula must himself be atzmo dimi eidechad. Why? The inami also Adam, even if Adam would come afterwards, he's potter, right? Because he was moda to the Geneva itself. Moda b'kanas v'kmeim is potter. Now he wasn't moda to the Karen at all. The Shneim she'eder Geneva chayvu. In other words, since he wasn't moda to anything on his own, and Adam were mechayivim for the kefil, so now when even if he says, yeah, but I sold it afterwards. Yes, I did. After Adam got him on the kefil on the thievery, and then he says, yeah, and I sold it afterwards. It didn't cost him anything. He didn't have to give up anything. So he doesn't gain there. We don't say Adam was potter, but because Adam chayiv. That's what the Gemara says at the top of the page. Allah b'kamash one. Go to Val Pishnayim back in the Gemara again at the top line. Namid base. Allah b'kamash one. Go to Val Pishnayim v'tavach pi eidechad or pi atzmo. There, right? He wasn't chayiv himself at all. There we say that al pi atzmo is like eidechad. That just al pi eidechad. If another also eidechad mitzdarif badei, another could join him and they could testify against him. Machayev al pi atzmo nami. He also ate a machayev. Why? Because he wasn't moted to anything. He wasn't moted to that at all. If he's moted to the Gneva himself, al pi atzmo, the chayev atzmo keren lo min al pi atzmo dumi al pi eidechad. Why? Because there, if he is moted to the thievery himself. Why? Because their motive Adam is potter. But in the case where the Adam were machayev him, the kefil, because he wasn't motive to that, and then he's motive to the tficha mechira, he wasn't machayev himself anything, and therefore motive Adam, we don't say is potter. Their motive Adam is chayev. That's his point. You understand? So when two Adam came and say you're chayev kefil, you stole it. You didn't admit to that, and then he said, okay, but I sold it afterwards. He tried to get off. He's just trying to get off. He's not being motive b'knas because he's a good guy, because he wants to return something, because he's a tzaddik, Baal Tshuva. He's not doing that. He's doing it simply because he has nothing to lose. When you have nothing to lose, it's easy to say, yeah, I'm motive to that. Bryce says, that's the proof from the Mishnah. So now, whereas yesterday, right after the Mishnah, the Gemara seemed to say that's a proof against Rav Huna Barav, who says, here it's mashma ve'edem kam chayiv. Yeah, but now we're saying, yeah, that's only, that Edom only mechayiv and Mordechai ve'edem if he wasn't motive to anything, like the case in the Mishnah. But even Rav would be motive that if, the way Rav Amnun and Rav Yochanan explained Rav would be motive that if he admitted on his own, in other words, it cost him something, and then after him, he would be potter from the extra dal dehay and kefil itself for sure, and also the dal dehay. What's the brisa? Now the Tanya, listen to this case. We had this case the other day. Raw, we're about 10 lines down, 7, 8, 9. About 9, 10 lines down on Amid Beis now, Ayin Beis. Bryce at Tanya Raw, Adam Shem Shashan and Bon. You saw Adam getting prepared to testify against him, Omar, and he said, okay, I saw the Adam coming, so he said, Ganafti, Avalo Tavachti, Vlo Macharti. I did steal, but I didn't, he was afraid they were going to testify against him both on the Tvich Michas. He says, listen, I did steal, so Adam Mashalma can only pay the Karen. Lamila Mr. Ganafti, why did he have to say, I stole, Avalo Tavachti, Vlo Macharti, but I didn't sell it? Nesne ganaftu otavachti macharti. Let him say I stole it. Otavachti macharti. Either way, he's motive. Ella kamash v'lo and time it ganafti. The reason why it was because I said ganafti. Who the chayiv atzum mechanic is mechayiv himself. That's why he's potter. Avalama lo ganafti. But if he says I didn't steal, and then Adam came and it said bo Adam shagana b'chazaram otavachti macharti bo Adam shtavach machar. The lo chayiv atzum mechanic. He wasn't mechayiv himself at all. Then he would be chayiv. Alma hodo tficha. In other words, once you're caught not on your own. You didn't admit to the basic keren that you stole. They got you on that, and then you're motive to the tvicha mechira. That doesn't do anything. So when he says I did steal, even though he saw them coming, but I did steal, right? Because according, we said even Rav Shimon would noted in a case like that, maybe that it's only Rav Shimon would only say in a case where he saw them coming, he was afraid of them. Then you say motive b'knas v'kbeinos is chayav, but otherwise motive b'knas v'kbeinos is potter, like the Tanakama. So even if he saw the aim coming and he said I stole, okay, he admitted on his own. He admitted on his own. Then you say he only pays the keren, even if he says, even if they get him on the Geneva and even if they get him on the Tvicha Mechira, right? Gemara says again at the wide lines from Ganafti, let him say Ganafti or Macharti, let him be motive to everything. And time it on Ganafti. He says, because he said Ganafti, that's why he said Chayv Atzim Keren the Potter. Avaloma lo Ganafti, right? But if you say lo Ganafti, Ubo Edim Shaganav and they Edim got him because of Matavach Macharti, Ubo Edim Shnev Machar, lo Chayv Atzim Keren, then he would be Chayv. Now that's his point. Why did you have to say Ganafti Avalo Tavach Macharti? Let him say Ganafti Macharti also. Because the point only is to teach you that Taima Dama Ganafti. The reason is why the Gerson and the Bach is Taima Dama Ganafti, the Chayv Atzim Keren. Once he Chayv himself, then he's Potter on the rest, Potter on the Kefel and everything else. Aval Omer Lo Ganafti Uboem Shaganav. Even if he's motive there, he's not chayim himself. He would be chayiv even on the dal v'hei. So the chor, that's also proof from this brisa. That's a proof from this brisa, from the fact that the brisa says that he said I admitted to ganafti. That's why he only pays the keren. But why didn't you say ganafti avalo tavachti v'lo macharti? He says time that we're ganafti avalo macharti. Why didn't he also say, as the years the Bach is the base, he says nisnei ganafti, otavachim let him be motive to that too. Ela kamash malon time that we're ganafti huda chayvas mekaren. That's why he's potter from dal day. Avaloma lo ganafti bo edim shegara v'chazer v'amatavachim b'charti bo edim shegara v'char l'mechaz mekaren he be chayv. Amo dad v'chal avtichim. The Gemara says that's not a proof from the Brisa. Amri, I wouldn't say that. Why? Lohi. Hello. He gufa kamash malon. It's not really a proof from there to Rav Amnuna and Rav Yochanan, who say that when you're not giving up anything, that's not a hodah. Why? He gufa kamash malon. The chiddush is the kibben davar ganafti. Once you say ganafti, afagav delomer lo tavach lo macharti, ubaydim shtavach u'machar, and Adam come and say that what that you did sell it, and you denied that, you're potter. My time, meaning this, that's the chiddush. The reason why you said ganafti v'lo tavachti v'lo macharti, and you said it in that form, right? You say ganafti, and you said afterwards lo tavachti v'lo macharti, and then Adam came and said that you did slaughter it. That's the chiddush. You say, well, why didn't you say ganafti v'tavachti macharti to tell me that you had to admit something? No, the truth is the reason he said it in that form is ganafti v'lo tavachti v'lo macharti, and then Adam came and said that you did slaughter it. You're still potter, not why. Adam caught you on the sale, but the answer is since there's no kefil, there's no dalvei. As we said, kefil is double, right? You pay the keren and the next one. Then the dalvei is on top of that, meaning if there's no kefil, there's no dalvei. Yeah, I just stole it. Anything. I stole your computer. And he did sell it afterwards. Yeah, so in this case, like this case here, he did actually sell it. However, since he was moted to the thievery initially, he was moted himself, he doesn't pay kefil. Once there's no kefil, there can't be any dalvei, even though he did sell it afterwards. He stole the shore, and then he slaughtered it or he sold it. But he admitted to the thievery. That's exactly the point here. That's why it says so. So this price is not necessarily a proof to Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Amnuna that say that you have it's only an admission if you gave up something, because he says over here, why didn't you say that case? Why do you say ganafti avalo tavachti v'lo macharti and imshalom el keren? Let it say ganafti macharti gamkein. Say it that way too. Why didn't you say it that way? Kamash. The reason is because ganafti b'chayav atzma b'keren. That's why he's potter. Avalom lo ganafti boed and boed you wouldn't pay. So no, the reason why he said it over there in this form is to tell me that even if Adam caught you on the tvicha mechira, even if you lied about it and you did actually sell it, you still don't pay the dalvei, because since you were moted to the kefa, you were moted to the keren, you were moted to the thievery itself, and you don't pay kefa. If you don't pay kefa, you can't pay dalvei, because the dalvei, the extra 3 is only if you already have the 2. If you don't have kefa, you don't have dalvei. Hashem said pay 4 or 5. Not 3 or 4. Because if you don't have the kefel, you have the keren, plus 3 is plus 2 is 3, or plus 3 is 4. In other words, the extra 2 for sheep and the extra 3 for shore has to bring it up to 4 or 5. If it only brings it up to 3 and 4 respectively, wouldn't work. Tonight. So this question that we're discussing now, that motive was potter according to Rav, only if you give up something. Your mission is giving up something, not where you're motive to the dal hay, to the sale or the slaughter, where you're not giving up anything. Why? Listen to this case carefully. Hayu shnayim me'idin shagana. 2 people claim, one set of Adam say that he stole. And then 2 other Adam came along and said, the second set, the first set said he stole. The second set said that he sold it. Huzmu Eda Geneva. Now the first set were found to be Adam Zom, and they were liars, meaning there was a third set who said you were with us in St. Louis on that day at that time. They're liars. So what do you do now? Did he steal or not? We have no proof that he stole, right? Because the Adam are gone. The first set are found to be liars. So Eda Shabbat Miktsasa Bat Lakula. All right, since he didn't steal, right? The sale doesn't do anything. So even if you slaughter, so I slaughtered your animal, even if there's Adam that slaughtered, but there's no kefil of it, so it's now dal v'hei. Because the first set of Adam who said that he was a thief were liars, whether he stole it or not. But there's no Adam to that; those Adam are liars, so there's no dal v'hei. Okay, who's moed tzvicha? Let's say no, not the first set of Adam that testified about the thievery. They were found to be the second set, the set who claimed that he sold it, they were found to be liars. Okay, who's my tficha? Who misham tashlumi kefil? Okay, so the ganav has to pay kefil because the first set of Adam are still there, right? The first set that he stole it, they're still there, right? Behem mishalmin tashlume shlosha. They would pay 3. Who would pay 3? The second set who were found to be liars. They were trying to be mechayev the thief an extra 3. Okay, and they're liars, so they have to pay the thief. So the thief pays kefil, he comes out gaining, right? He pays kefil to the owner, and he gets 3 from the Adam. All right, so he comes out, he is +1, right? 3 minus 2 is 1. All right, that's the Tanakama. That sounds nice and simple. Mishum Sumchas Amru, they said in the name of Sumchas, it was the Talmud of Rav Meir, hey, Mishalman Tashlume kefil, they pay kefil. Whoa, who pays kefil? Who's pay kefil? No. Well, which one we have? Second set of 8, let's see. Person would say, why didn't you just say dal v'hei? And it's like that lashon is trying to fill in the lashon of the puzzle, Okay, and he pays 3. Now he pays 3. What do you mean? Okay, so what is simchus? Doesn't make any sense over here. Which case is simchus going on? If he's going on the first case, what was the first case? Where the first set of Adam who claimed the thievery, who said that he testified that he was a thief, they were found to be liars. What do you mean? If they were found to be liars, so there was no thievery here. So why is there any shlosha? There's no shlosha. There's no thievery. There's nothing. Doesn't hold that. Ella safe. Okay, maybe something is going on the second case. What's the second case? The first set said that he thieved. The second set said that he sold it. And then the second set was found to be liars, right? So, the Rabbanan, what the Rabbanan said makes sense. The thief pays kefil because they're Adam against him at the kefil. And they should pay 3 to the thief. So, what a sense of sumchas make over here? They pay double and he pays triple. There's a different machlokas over here. Sumchas is going on a different case. Listen to this case. He's starting the case over again. To go into Asu Beitrei Amile Ganav. 2 people came and said, the first set said you stole. Amilahu. Now the thief wakes up and he says, Ein Ganafti. You're right. I did steal. V'tavachti mecharti, and I sold it also. Miu lo b'fnechem Ganafti, but you couldn't have seen it because you weren't with us there. And I have Adam that know where you were. You were in St. Louis on that day at that time. I see Sadi Vasminu, and he brought Adam. The thief himself brought Adam that were Muslim. The third set, they were Muslim. The first set, they were Muslim. The first set. Right. The low Bapayogana. He brings a proof as man that they couldn't have seen the thief. They took place in New York, and they were in St. Louis. But I see Balabayasadi. Now what? In other words, he says. Now remember, the Ganef admits that he stole it and he sold it, but he says you can't be testifying against me because you weren't there, and he disproves them. And then the Balabayas, the owner, the one who was stolen from, brings witnesses. And he brings Adam now, who are been supported by the Ganef. The Ganef says, I know, right? The Ganef says, I know you couldn't have been there, right? I see Balabai Sadi. He brings other witnesses, Vasidu Bay, the Ganef Macher, and now the Balabais brings witnesses that this thief really did steal. And I say, he admitted already that he stole. I admit that I stole and I sold it, right? But not you couldn't have known about it. You're liars, and he proved them to be liars. The Balabais brings other Adam who say that Ganef Macher. The machlokas over here is that an admission on the tficha mechira at all? Why? The Rabbanan say even though the original hodah when he was moda, yes, I did steal. It's because of those adam the kamoda hodah the tficha hodah. He didn't have to admit to the tficha mechira. He says the first set of adam were later found to be liars. They said you stole, and he says I did steal. I stole it and I sold it. He didn't have to be moda to that. Upater, since he didn't have to be moda to that at all, you're pater, even though by being moda to the tficha, he's not giving up anything, right? By being moda to the thievery, right? Well, the Adam were forcing him to do that, so he wasn't really doing anything, right? He wasn't really moda because they were Adam against him. Was he moda to anything with the tficha? No, he wasn't moda to anything, and therefore the second set of Adam that the Balabayas brings now should be mechayiv from the dal of the hay. Because by giving it, if you don't hold like if you hold like Rav Amnuna, did he give up anything by being motive to the dalvei to the no? So the Tanakama holds not like that. Tanakama is saying maybe like Rava wanted to say like the story that Leal indicates the datficha hodah. It's still a hodah even though you didn't give up anything. You're part of a Simcha Savar. Simcha says that keep it hodah to Geneva Machmas Adam since he was motive to the Geneva because of the Adam who the Kamoda. The tficha lavodah, that's not a tficha. He wasn't moted to the Geneva only because of the first set accused him of stealing. So he says, yeah. So he was moted to that. He wasn't a hodah to Geneva because of the Adam. The Gemara, the tficha is not a hodah because he's not giving up anything. Now Simchas is going like Rav Amnuna, B'hanach Adam Kamoi, and the first set of Adam, the Azminu, right? The first set of Adam that were muzam, right? That they were found to be liars. Mishalman Tashlume Kefo. They pay Kefo. Why? Listen to the case. The first set of Adam were liars, but they wanted to make him pay Kefo. The truth is, he should pay Kefo. Why? Because the second set that the Balabayas brought, they proved him to be wrong. Right? They proved him to be. They proved that he was that he really stole. But the first set, who are telling the truth, but they couldn't have known the truth because they weren't with him there. So they were trying to be Mechaim Kefo, and he would pay the Kefo. In other words, the tficha lavodoi, they pay kefil, and you know what? He also pays kefil. Why? Because what happened over here is the first set of Adam were liars. I said you stole. They were liars because they didn't see it. But the truth is, he did steal, right? And there were Adam to that effect afterwards, right? There are other Adam came and said you did steal. So they pay him kefel, and he pays the owner kefel. And he pays the 5. Why? Because Simchas holds that when you're moted to something where you didn't give up anything, you still have to pay. And that's why. And that's the lashon of Simchas. When Simchas said, "Hein mishalman tashlume kefel," who's the hein? The first set of bad Adam, and which he then forwards anyway to the Balabayas. He still has to pay the extra 3 because the Adam got him on that. He was moda. That's not a good odah like Rav Amnuna. So the charetz of proof. This case over here indicates the machlokas between Rav Amnuna and Rav Yochanan on the one hand, who say moda b'knas Adam is only potter if you're giving up something. That would be like Sukkot. And the Tanakh says no. Even if you're not giving up something, you're still good. Everybody agrees that that's not a hodah. Hodah, the tficha is not a hodah, and therefore you would have to pay the extra 3. Over here, the problem is this. The reason that machlokes is Eidah Shetayach. Normally, Eidah Shetayach Lazimas we'll see is Eidim come and testify something, but they're not sure what time it was, what day it was, what place it was. You can't be masim then. You can't say you were with us at that time, and that's not good Eidim. But over here he says this is also Eidim that you can't be masim. Why? Because who brought these Eidim? The owner brought them after the Ganef admitted that he stole, and he said there were other Eidim to that effect. I know that you couldn't have been there because I have Eidim that say you were there at the time. I stole at this time and this hour and this time, and you couldn't have been there. So that's Eidah Shetayach Lazima because the Ganef himself is supporting them. That's what the Tanakh says. You go the Osu Sadi. Here's what happened. Listen carefully. Eidim came Ba'omri like Ganafta. The first set said you stole. Ba'omri Ganafti v'tvach mecharti. Again, like we said, I admitted I did all that. Me wasn't in front of you Ganafti. El b'fnei ploni. Over here, it's not like we just said before, the Balabayas brought 2 other Eidim. The God of himself says the Eidim, brings the Eidim. You see, this first set says you stole, right? You stole. He says, I stole, I slaughtered, I sold it. But you couldn't have been there. You weren't there. I did it in front of these other, that's set number 2. I brought it in set number 2. Elabifne ploni. And he brought those witnesses, other witnesses, he brought witnesses who were Muslim of the first set, the Loba Payugana, that he didn't steal in front of them, that they weren't there at the time. Also ploni. And when the Ganef says the second set that I stole in front of them, he brings them, and they testify, the Ganef Tapachamacha. They saw him do the whole thing. This is the machlokes. You can't be Muslim then, because it's like he admitted himself. If he admitted himself, it's sort of like Hodas Badin Kamei Eidim Bami. I moted myself, and here are my Eidim. So you can't be Muslim those Eidim and show that they're liars, because he himself is moted them. He himself, the person who's Mechai himself says that they are telling the truth. So Rabbanan said that's Eidah Shetayach Lazima. Eidah Shetayach Lazima, Eidah is not Eidah, and therefore listen carefully. The second set of Eidim who say, right, what happened? The first set of Eidim say you stole. He says, I stole, I sold. I'm a bad guy, but you weren't there. You were in St. Louis. And he proves that they're liars. But you know what I did? I stole in front of set number 2. And I'm going to bring you set number 2 to show it. Now, when set number 2 comes and they say you stole and you sold it, and by admitting to the selling, you're not giving up anything. Yeah, but these aren't Eidim. Because it's Eidah Shetayach Lazima. You can't be Muslim them. The second set are invalid Eidim. Therefore, he's not chayav the dal day. The sumka savar Eidah Shetayach Lazima, it is still good Eidos. Even though he's supporting them and he brought them in, and you can't contradict them because the owner himself is motive to it. It's still good Eidos. And if they're good Eidos, and he didn't give up anything by the tficha mechira, you'd have to pay the 3. You'd have to pay the 3, right? The first set of Eidim have to pay kefil because they're liars. They couldn't have known that he stole. They weren't there, so they're liars. That set of Eidim pays the Ganef, and what does the Ganef do? The Ganef pays the kefil to the owner, according to the Tanakama, according to the right Tanakama, or even maybe according to Sumkas. Sumkas says Savei Shetayach Lazima it is Eidos. I have a comment. We know that Eidah Shetayach Lazima is not a gay Eidos. We know that that's Hani Milech Lo Yoda Be'ez Yom Be'ez Shah. They don't know what day it was or what time it was. That's not Eidos. You could be Muslim because they're saying, yeah, we saw him kill him, but we're not sure what day it was. Well, that's not good. That's not good because we can't be Muslim them. The latest cloud. But over here, he's simply supporting them. So that is Eidos. That is considered Eidah Shetayach Lazima. It's good Eidos. And therefore, if they, now Rashi says over here that Rabbanan Savi Alpagav the Gleba Machmas Eidim Kamoda Beinoda Chayv Shalom Baal Moshe Shefo Hodar Tficha Lav Machmas Yisus Odeba Mioda Upot Midal Vei Alpagav the Potras Miklum Bodazu Dozosh Ganafti Command over Logan Afti Damit the Machmas Kamoy Ode While the Bachai Bekarim the Cave Mishum Eidos Achronim of Lav Mishum. So right, the Gemara says, but the Gemara wanted to say before, I skipped the Rashi said before, Alpha Bishlo Chayv Atzim Bekarim Bekamel Sumkas Hey Misham and Kefil V'hu Misham Tashlum Mishal Shiva the Tficha Lavadoi Shepatam and Zeklum. Rashi says somewhere maybe above. V'aisi Bala V'ais Sarachmina Dechgar V'Tachum Machum Become Rabbana the Hey Misham and Tashlum Kefil Leganav V'Aganav L'Balam. That's what I'm going to say. The Gaon will pay the bomb according to the Tanakama. Who put me down the hay? The Oda Atficha Mechira. Because we wanted to say that the Chum say that if you're Moda on something where you didn't give up anything, that doesn't count. But at the end, we say, no, everybody's Moda, that if you give up on something that doesn't count, that's not a Hodah, and you'd have to pay the Dal. The issue over here is the second set of Adam that the God himself brings, that says that he stole and he sold in front of them. Are they Adam? Tanakama says those aren't Adam. Those aren't Adam. They're not Chayv Dal V'Hei. And Moda B'Knas is Potter. Sumka says no, those are Adam. And therefore, Sumka says that they are Adam. Sumka says it is considered good Adam. And on that, Sumka says, what were Sumka's words? Hey, Mishalman Tashlume Kefo. They would pay the kefil. Who would pay the kefil? The first set of liars, right, would pay the kefil. If it's his hodah is not a good hodah because he had Adam against him, he would pay that kefil to the owner possibly, or maybe only the Karen. But he would pay. He would have to pay the kefil his liar, and he would pay the tishlim. Why? Because he has Adam who said that he stole and that he sold it, so he'd have to pay the whole thing. Amar Ma, the last line, 2 lines on the page. Hey, misham tishlim kefil. Midikamoda, right? He's the same kefil. Midikamoda, the Ganav, but since he's Moda's Ganav, Karen Boshim, you should only pay the Karen. Amar Blazer Mishmei the Rav, Tani Tashlumi Kefil, and a Chanami. You'd only have to pay the second one. You don't pay the Knas, not the one. Since he's Moda on his own, he pays the Karen. So when he says over here, Hey Misham Tashlumi Kefil, they pay the Kefil, but since he's Moda, the Ganav, so he'd only have to pay the Karen. So what do you mean over here that they would pay the Karen? And I'm going to say that it means tashlume kefil. Mishalman is a kefil, but who misham shlosha levada Karen. In other words, the second set, the Adam who since he was moed himself to the thievery before there was a psak din. Notice when they said you stole, he was moed that he stole. So, but they were trying to be mechayv in the kefil. They would pay the extra 2. And he would pay the 3 because there was kefil over here. Once there's kefil, there could be the extra 3, and that's how we come out. So at the end of the day, we go like Rav Nun or Rabbi Yochanan. We're trying to say that everybody else, when you're moda b'knas that didn't cost you anything, that's not a moda. Moda is only when I moda to something, like I'm moda that I owe it. I moda that it's going to cost them something. Then it's otherwise not. Otherwise not. So this gets into the question: what about the case of the rape that you brought up yesterday? When you're moda, we can ask your potter, but by being moda, what are you moda to? You're moda to something else. You probably are moda because you have to pay the other ones. That's exactly, you have to pay something over there. So by being moda, it's costing you something. Then you can say moda b'knas is potter. The extra part that you have to pay over and above the knas, that's you're moda, you're moda to the Karen, you're moda to the nezik tzar, ripuy sheves, and all that stuff. But if you're not moda, if by being moda you're not giving up anything because they already caught you on the kefil, and now you're being moda to the selling. The extra 3, but you're not going to give it by being moted to it. You're not going to pay anything. The whole idea is that you only pay the knas if they get you, not if you're moted on your own. All right, we'll pick up from here tomorrow, message.